One of the highlights of this year's Melbourne Documentary Film Festival in July is a film called School Under Siege. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to, all the way from Sweden, the director of School Under Siege, Nils Petter Lofstedt. Nils, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Good to
Very
talk
nice.
to you. And this is such a fascinating film about the 2001 Gothenburg riots, if you like to call it that way, which was actually related to the European Union summit that George W. Bush was attending. I had no idea about all of this. Can you tell me about the origins of the documentary?
I was a 20-year-old young, and I was like, I had this dream about being a photographer, and at this time, everyone wanted to go to Gothenburg, or it was also a big festival at this moment. So, like, the people were talking about going to the festival or to the EU summit. But I wanted to go there to take pictures. And my best friend had this school that activists and demonstrators can go and visit. So on the Wednesday, we went to this school. And when we woke up the next morning, the same day as George Bush arrived to Gothenburg, the school was under siege.
What an incredible story. And one of the key issues about making this film is the discovery of the hidden 15 rolls of exposed film. Tell me about finding this and putting it all together.
No, the story is that during this day, I took a lot of pictures. I had 15 rolls of black and white film and 2 cameras. And before I got arrested, as everyone else, like 500 activists, I hide the rolls in what you call a pot in a kitchen outside the school. But the next day when I was released, I waited outside the school, and at the evening I could go inside and collect my rolls. But then I haven't done much with these films because this has been such a it's been very hard to talk about these events. But now 20 years later, I had a good look at the pictures, and I felt like I have to do something with this. So in the beginning, I was planning to do a short film, but after a while, the story just got bigger and bigger, and so that's the story with the films. And then we also discover other archives, because there were a lot of activists shooting film at the time, and that's also how I got connected to Australia and Izzy that lives in Melbourne.
Well, I found that so interesting, the people that you've interviewed that comment on being there, on their experiences. You found some really interesting people to talk, and what an incredible story to put together.
Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing journey to follow, because I meet someone and then that person says, "Oh, there's that guy. You can talk to him." So it's been a nice journey to follow what people tell me, and we found a very big archive in Gothenburg. At the time, it was called Indie Media. That was activists shooting film, and there we found one tape. And it says Izzy who shot this tape, and it was amazing to watch this her material, but we have no clue who she was. So I Googled maybe 4 days, and then I found Izzy Brown and that she lived in Melbourne. So she became a part of this story as well. So that's nice. I'm very happy that she took these pictures, moving pictures. Yeah. So
Exactly.
it's a collective story with a lot of,
Yeah. Oh, look, I was absolutely fascinated because, as I said, I didn't know much about that situation, and it is quite a revelation. And the police were incredible. I could not believe that they would commit such violence on a peaceful demonstration.
Yeah, you mean when we tried to get out from the school?
Yeah.
And when they when all the horses came,
Yeah.
it was and we have never been able to tell this story, so it's also in Sweden a big revelation that, oh, did this happen? And when you see how this started, then you can start to understand why the next days became so violent, and because it was escalating. You say that, escalate? It
Yes.
escalate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah. Wow. And I like the way you shot the film. I noticed some of it's in black and white, some of it's in color. It's interesting the way you mix ways of shooting to highlight, I suppose, the events.
Yeah, I like. I'm a big fan of black and white because I've come from the I'm a photographer and I started shooting in black and white. And but I in previous films also I really like to mix color and black and white. It adds something. But I think it's too much to make the whole film black and white as well. So I've found a quite nice mix. And something happens when you go from color to black and white and back. It's like something happens, and I don't really know what it is, but I like it.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's very effective. It sort of highlights various people who are talking and situations. So in putting all of this material together and the interviews and so on, it runs as a very carefully constructed story. You must have spent a fair bit of time making sure the narrative of the documentary was clearly presented to the audience.
Yeah, and it's my brother Johan. He's the editor, and he's a very good editor. And sometimes when I shoot, I can just feel that this, but I don't have a real clue how to put this in the story. But then Johan helps very much to, we can do like this. And doing a film is very much to take very much away from the story and just stick with it. But it's and also to not to use a voiceover and just but I think it's very careful. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
No, the story is well told. It's really, I was just gobsmacked watching it and seeing what was going on.
It's interesting now that the audience outside Sweden, it's very, we are curious about how people outside Sweden, because in Sweden it's such a trauma, national trauma these days, and it's very polarized and divided.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the film will help to try to understand the other side a bit, because during these days and after, like in the media, it was like, the prime minister gave flowers to the police and said, "Thank you so much for these days. You saved our city." So our story was nowhere.
Yep.
And you couldn't people didn't say that they went there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's quite clear that the other side had to be told, and I'm so glad that you did that. And in the documentary, you reveal that the whole government and police had to review the way that they treated everyone, and that laws were changed, I think, wasn't it? Or police had to change the way they approached demonstrations and so on.
Yeah. Now the police don't work. Sometimes they do, but they learn something from this, and when because in this film they are attacking, they move forward, and now at like demonstrators, when things start to escalate, the police should step away from it and try to so that's the how the police work today is connected to these events. Sometimes they don't do as they should, and you get the escalation also
Of course.
today.
Yes. Watching some of the footage, especially later in the documentary, I'm surprised the horses didn't kill anyone riding riding over people, and the batons and other things that were used against everyone who were initially very peaceful. I was surprised there were no deaths that occurred.
That's one of the guys in the film, Tord Björk. He was the guy who tried to have a what do you call it, a link between the police and us that were inside, and he said that in history people really been killed when police is on a horse or military that goes to and the crowd doesn't have a place to, because this was a narrow space, so it could have gone really bad, but there was a lot of injuries. But in my film I was more interested in how did this affect us as persons, and if they're still because I think these events had more impact on me as a person, more than I thought before I was started doing this film. This is because I couldn't talk to my some of my family. These events had it was impossible to tell your story, and that's the I think that's the biggest scar in me, when you can't tell your story, and that's a revelation now with this film, and so it's been a I'm not sure but it's been very fascinating to be in this. Now we told a story, and it's a relief.
Well, I can imagine it's sort of film as therapy, film as catharsis, film as a way of trying to understand and cope with a really traumatic situation. It's a wonder that some people like yourself perhaps didn't have post-traumatic stress after that event.
Yeah, because I was released the next day, and then I got my films, and then I was to attend a demonstration, and I remember that I stood there, and I just I heard the sound of horses again, and my knees, I couldn't stand up. So and then I can't really remember the next days, but I remember that, and I just went away. So that was a post-traumatic stress thing.
How
Mm.
incredible. Tell me, how is the anti-globalization, anti-capitalist movement functioning now, 20 years after that event?
Mm. I really, I can't really, I don't have the, I don't really know. But I don't, what I know is that it's not at this time it was really a global movement, and you felt that you are part of something very big.
Yeah.
And I can't really say that I have that feeling now. Maybe I'm just older. I don't know. But I'm in Sweden. A lot of things like this event, and then the 9/11, and let something happen there. A lot of people say.
Yeah. No, I understand. Tell me the responses that you've had from some of the people that you filmed, who were there, who were part of these events in 2001, and of audiences that have seen the film.
It's been really, I it's a bit of surprise for me that it's been so emotional. It's been like, and I now, because we were 500 trapped in the school, and now I got connected to a lot of more people that were there, and they tell, like, some went to see the film and cried through the whole film, and then walks home and crying, and then I have to watch it again, and the next day the same thing. So it's but it's also with generations. Like I remember an old couple watched the film, and they said, we have, our daughter went to Gothenburg, and we thought that we understood her and knew what happened to her, but now we realize we didn't understand. So thank you for the film. So now we understand. So it's and also with my parents and my relatives, that they understand me. So it's like a yeah, it's and also it's also like, I try to, this is a very traumatic event and day, but me to do this film, I had this feeling because I met very such a nice people all the way. So I wanted to have this light in the film, that it's going to be a beautiful film, and with the poetry, and so that's the artistic approach to make this trauma day to something beautiful.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that.
And
Because,
there,
yeah, it's
yeah,
such a,
thank you.
yeah, no, it's such a powerful film. And so apart from its screening at the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival in July, it screened obviously at other film festivals. Have you had similar responses, other festivals?
Yeah, we'll see. There will be some festival shows, yeah, but Melbourne is first.
Ah, Melbourne's first. That's great.
And that's, yeah, and that's also very nice because Melbourne is part of the film.
Yes.
So that's very nice. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So Nils, are you planning at all another film, either a follow-up to this one or something else?
Yeah, I'm working on two other documentaries. And they were, I worked on these documentaries before starting on this film, but the pandemic, because I'm shooting a lot of on like in workplaces, and they were all shut down, so I couldn't access anymore. So then I worked on this film. So there are 2 more documentaries on the way.
Will they have similar themes or different topics?
It's different topics, but it's connected in one way, and that is that I want to give a voice to there's big how to say, there's a big like people that work with healthcare and with children in Sweden now. Their story is they don't have a chance to tell their story, so I want them to tell the story through this film. So that's connected in that way, I think. But in other ways, it's very different. Yeah.
Sure. Very interesting topic. Very interesting topic. Well done on that. Look, Nils, congratulations on School Under Siege. I think it will get quite a reaction in Melbourne and in Australia for the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival. And it's been my great pleasure talking to you. Been speaking to Nils Petter Lofstedt, the director of School Under Siege, now screening in July at the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival. Nils, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.